Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Detections with your hosts, Understudy 77, Understudy 77.
Try
I
it
don't know.
again.
Okay, fine. With your host, Understudy 77. I feel good about that one. We're gonna go with that for now.
That was solid. And exiled Atreides. Atreides?
See, you gotta
exiled Atreides.
There you go. Hope everybody is having a good night. We're changing it up tonight, but we'll get to that in a little bit. In fun personal news, do you have any fun personal news? I have fun personal news.
I do. I recently decided to do some coping by spending money and got myself a new camera for doing low light photography.
Here. What one did you go with?
The Sony. What is it? The Sony AS2.
I really want to bring myself to like Sony cameras, but I can't.
This is going to be my second one, so I now have experience. Will have experience with a Sony and a Nikon, so I can actually now say what my preference is from these two. But everything that I read about this one is that it's a solid low light camera. And if I wanted to actually move up to doing filming, the new one, the what is it, the A7, M7?
Yeah,
the new one. It's pretty much like everything that I've seen from professional photographers. That's going to be a standard camera that they're going to use all the time.
For some general, like I got hooked on Fuji, and I've been happy with that. Like there's something I really like about their stuff. And Fuji stuff in general. I can't explain it. Maybe the way it looks, I don't know. But I like all the like manual knobs and stuff on the camera. It's just nice for me. I did not get a new camera though. I like my Fuji. I did, however, get fish.
Yes, you shared pictures and they were fantastic.
We got two really good looking clownfish. And I spent all last weekend building a scale or almost scale replica, not quite fully scale, of a Nintendo Entertainment System and TV out of Lego, which I live tweeted the entire experience. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you did.
I really, really enjoyed it. Like, it was a lot of fun to build. It's easily like the most complicated thing I've ever built. But like, there's Easter eggs hidden all over it. Like inside the Nintendo, there's a panel you can remove to see like a replica of World 1-2. The TV has a crank on the side so that you can scroll it, and then Mario will move up and down, and you can put the little digital Lego Mario on top, and it'll make noises. Like when you hit the shell, it makes the shell noise and stuff and plays the level song.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of really cool features because like you also are building the game cartridge. You can slide the game cartridge in, push it down, and it sticks on a spring mechanism. Like the works. Coolest Lego build I've ever done. It was like 2,600 pieces. It took me like 9 hours. I think I spent like 5 hours on Friday or Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday. I would link those, but they're all gone. You can't have one anymore. I did kind of get two by accident because I ordered one online and then I realized I could go to the Lego store. And I did. And I was like, well, I'm just going to keep it because why not? Like, I'll put it in a closet. It'll be worth money someday. Or maybe I have a friend who's like, oh man, I really wanted that set and I couldn't get one. Oh, cool. I got you.
Well, happy birthday. Even though it's not your birthday.
It won't be happy birthday because it's expensive. So like they can pay me cost for it.
Hi, Kitty.
But anyway, while Exiled goes off talking to his cat instead of paying attention to the podcast that he's on.
Because he decided to try to use my leg as a scratching post.
Oh. You're supposed to just push through the pain, man, not let anybody know what's going on.
Well, he's trying to get me kicked out of his chair, even though I'm recording in it.
It's clearly his chair.
What I was going to say, too, is I'm super... I know you're gone this weekend on some personal stuff, but I'm super excited that the OpenSOC starts tomorrow.
Oh, man, I'm so bummed I can't do it. DEF CON Safe Mode, OpenSOC, this is going to get timey-wimey because we're talking about being excited about it. Yeah. Then people are going to be listening and be like, I already did that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you do better than last time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to have time to do it this time.
That's good. And, hopefully you're not using the name of this podcast and do poorly.
I'll do it again. I'll use the name of the podcast and I'll get like 2 questions right and then just sit there the entire time.
You're building us a bad reputation.
We've got to lean into the whole like, hey, if we can do a podcast, you sure as hell can.
Yeah, but we still have to be somewhat technically competent. Me even more so, because I'm a manager. People immediately assume I have no idea what's going on solely because of my title. So, like, I have to at least be somewhat technically competent.
I was gonna say though, because we're recording the day that they did the intro trainings for all the tools, and those presentations were really well at the Blue Team Village.
I believe that. I did not see them, but I believe it. That group is great. And plug, you can actually go listen to us interview Recon InfoSec all about OpenSock on an earlier episode.
Yes,
it's called OpenSock's Ghost Recon.
Yeah.
I don't remember the number. I didn't even remember the number of this episode, so don't ask me that.
Yeah, that's what we have a website for reference, because when you get older, you need references. The last thing I'm going to say about it, though, is they're doing a Fallout theme for the competition, which has me super excited.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So, that, do you want to move into our special guests for this evening?
Sure thing. Yeah. So we had an idea for a special guest this week to change things up a little bit. We've had people who, established themselves in the industry, came from a place of experience in whatever they were doing. And we know a lot of our listeners are people who are trying to break into the industry or new in the industry. So there's a couple of people in DeadPixelSec that we've seen grow and put out a lot of effort to try to break in, that we thought would have some valuable insight from that newer trying to break in perspective. So we asked and got graciously accepted by these two. We have Jennifer _ that some of you may recognize around the Twitter sphere at InfoSec.
I want to see if they scream when they unmute.
And Katrina, who in LeetSpeak is known as Cattree, so it's K4tTr, and then whatever E is in LeetSpeak. So thank you both for coming on.
It's the number 3.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Hi, how are you guys?
No screaming, thank you. No screaming.
Didn't we get the screaming taken care of earlier before we recorded?
Well, I mean, don't tell them, but I did record that, so we can edit it in.
I didn't scream yet.
Muted that part.
Don't worry, I'll add it.
Yeah, even if it needs to be the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, we can make it convincing.
So you can do as you please with the recording.
Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear what you're going to share today. So, first off, I mean, tell us a little bit about yourselves, like your background, where you came from.
So, I'm Jen. Originally, I went to school for forensic pharmacology, which is a fancy way of saying drug chemistry. That was back in New York. I was really, really into chemistry and biochemistry, actually. That was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done. I survived the major. I got out of that. While I was in school, I was actually working and I got into the restaurant business. It welcomed me because I needed a job while I went to school to pay for, life. While I was in school, I grew up in the restaurant business. So I have been a restaurant manager for 7+ years. I moved down here to the DC area. And I have been working really, really hard to get a master's degree. So first, originally, my goal was to get a master's in bioinformatics because I always liked computers, but I did not know why or where or how. But I wanted to incorporate computers with science. My science background was something that I enjoy very much. So I was looking into bioinformatics, which on paper was awesome. It looks like something really hard that barely anybody does. And it was something that I liked. So I went on and I researched places, and I sat into a couple of classes right before signing on for a program, and I hated it. It was so boring. My brain was dead from one class, so I basically went back to the sketching board to see what I was going to do. And as I spoke to a friend of mine who is not into security or anything, he's a web developer. I was sitting with him having lunch. He is from Florida, actually. He was meeting with some colleagues who were also in town for some type of meeting, conference, or whatnot. They're all in security, IT, and a whole bunch of other IT related fields that were talking. At the moment, that was about 2 years ago, I could not understand a word they were saying. And I mean, honestly, I probably understood 1 out of every 10 words they said. As they spoke about budgets and incidents and routers and people and connections and other things, I was Googling as they spoke, and I thought it was interesting. So I got out of there, and I want to say about 2-3 months later, I went to the community college and I took an introduction course, and I think it was in networking. It was like Network 101 or something like that in the community college. And everybody in that course was dying, bored. And I was loving it. I'm like, oh my God, this is so interesting. So that's how that works. And every time I learned something new, I knew how much I didn't know. So I wanted to learn more. So I basically then looked for master's degrees. Originally, I was looking for a bachelor's degree in information security and IT. But most places that I went, they're like, you already have a bachelor's. I think you need to go for something higher. So I landed at Miramar University. And when I sat down to talk to the admissions and the program chair, I literally told them, I have no background in this, but I want to do it. And if you allow me to, I'll show you that I can work at it. And they accepted me. I don't know why or how, but they did. And yeah, here I am.
Nice. Katri, you're up.
Hi guys, it's Katrina. So my story is a bit weird, but I'll just start off with my background. So my educational background is actually in international relations and Chinese. That is my bachelor's. And so I did a lot of anti-trafficking work and an anti-trafficking focus on campus. And I remember I wrote this 28-page paper as my capstone on how the tourism industry in Thailand really affects how, the prevalence of sex trafficking. So I focused on a lot of sex trafficking in Southeast Asia for a while. And that's what brought me to work in Chiang Mai, Thailand for a few months. And, while I was over there, I got this interesting opportunity at Polaris Project in Washington, D.C. just for a little bit doing some administrative and analytical work. It was interesting, but I wanted to do more with my life. I wanted to join the Navy, so as a naval officer. And so I spent a whole year working on the package to get into the U.S. Navy, and it was there's a lot of medical paperwork, a lot of testing, just a lot of training, making sure my body's fit enough to do the running and all that stuff. And after I submitted the packages, I got in around November, and I remember, it was going well so far, but the Navy ended up screwing me over when I was halfway through the program in OCS, basically saying that your iron levels are too low. They already had people that had to be put on hold, and they didn't want to risk a liability. So instead of rolling me back to a different class, they wanted to drop me And so I felt really sad about that. And I kind of reevaluated my decision, my life decisions. And I've always been interested in tech. A lot of my friends growing up in high school, if you read my first blog, it was on how gatekeepers pigeonholed my dreams. I just talk about how I've always been wanted to be involved in tech. I've always loved computers, loved video games, loved just everything about it. And so my friends would build computers, and I'd help them out, and I'd build my own computer with them. And there was a Java scripting course in high school that I wanted to take, but I wasn't allowed to take it because my GPA wasn't that high. So in my mind, I never thought I was, smart enough to do so. And so, I was wondering, okay, well, I really want to be in tech, but do I have what it takes to be in tech from everything that I've heard? So I actually went on this forum on Reddit and for cybersecurity and asked people's opinions on certain schools I was debating on. And one of them was Marymount University. And one girl replied, and she actually attended Marymount University as a master's student. Currently, she's a doctorate of science student. But she gave me a lot of feedback saying that, hey, it's a great school. She likes what she's doing so far. She was actually from Washington State, and I'm from Las Vegas. So she told me about Marymount University and how it's great. And so I went to the orientation. And that's where I met Jennifer. She's actually one of the first people in the program I've met, and she's also has an unrelated background, not in tech. So I think that's where we got this kind of bond, kind of connection to really push ourselves to get into cybersecurity, and that's kind of how it all started.
So I'd like to start with a comment as we go into this, and that is that both of these women are on the market and employable.
Yep.
So as you listen through this, bear that in mind. That's important. If you're interested, I'm sure you can find them and potentially employ them. Secondly, Katrina, for you, with your background, are you familiar with Innocent Lives Foundation, or have you thought about volunteering with them?
Oh yeah, I am. I saw some things about Innocent Life Foundation, and it seems like something I would like to do. I would love to work with them. I think it would be a wonderful opportunity, especially since I have a background with, focusing on anti-sex trafficking.
Yeah, and there's another organization that I was going to ask you about when we're done recording to see if you were familiar with it, because I had a friend that worked through it that did exactly the same stuff with anti-trafficking in China specifically. It was called the Starfish Project, if you're familiar with it.
Oh, I'm not familiar with the Starfish Project, but I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. All right, so Jen, I have a question for you too, since you mentioned working and going through school. What would you say, because I did the same thing.
Because you did the same. I think we might have lost Exile. It's possible, because he just muted.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Remember the cat? He just jumped up on my computer.
There we go. Special guest appearance.
Yes.
It's because you're sitting on his chair.
Yeah, I'm in his chair. He's getting bitey about it too. So what I was going to ask is, because I did working while I was getting my associate's and bachelor's degree too, how do you manage sleep when you're doing that?
Well, when I got my bachelor's degree, my schedule went as follows. I was a full-time restaurant employee, and I was a full-time student on a scholarship, a full-time science major on a scholarship, which required me to have some days 9-hour continuous lab. And that is my dog. So
it's the episode of the animals.
Yes. So when it came to sleep, I had to manage it on a schedule. And when I mean by schedule, I meant not sleeping more than 4 hours a day. That's when I was young and strong and amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to do the same thing myself. It's like you're looking at a minimum of 90-hour weeks between work and school and travel and stuff like that.
Yes. And it was seeing it now. What I did then sounds very, very ridiculous. I would work from 5 in the morning to 1:50 and go to school from 2 to 9 p.m., get home at 10, do homework until 12 or 1, study reports and all that, and do it all over again the next day. And I see it today, and I'm like, wow, pat in the back. I don't know how I did that. But, without the scholarship that I had, I probably would have had a very hard time going to school. My parents are immigrants. I'm from the Dominican Republic. And it was the best way that I figured how to pay for school. Now, I am currently a full-time graduate student. I have a full-time job as a restaurant manager. If anybody has ever worked in a restaurant before, I am going to tell you how working in a restaurant is. Imagine you have a bag. That bag is your plan. That bag is your day. Sorry. Your plan is 10 marbles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have your bag. That's your day. You put your plan, which are the 10 marbles, in your bag, right? So being a restaurant manager means that your day has a hole, so your plan goes out the window. And then you realize that the floor is lava and that you live in Antarctica. That is literally what it is to be a restaurant manager. You need to understand that everything that could possibly go wrong probably will every single day. That you are gonna have your guests who will take priority. That food is the most personal thing that you could possibly serve a person, because what is perfect for you, it is not perfect for anybody else. You need to understand that the guest that comes through the door, it is your guest, but your actual customer are your staff. You need to take care of them for them to take care of your guests, As a manager, you are juggling 1,000 things at the same time. So doing that plus going to school full time as a master's student, which is twice the workload from getting an undergrad, and being a dual master student, because why make it easy? I'm getting 2 masters at the same time. That just adds more. But also I am married, so I have a home life as well, and 2 dogs. And I have a blog, and I like doing CTFs, and I like doing all the extracurricular stuff because I think they're fun and they're my happiness. How I manage, I'm organized. I prioritized, and that is absolutely 100% a learned skill. I was not born that way. Mama didn't make me that way. I had to learn the hard way not to procrastinate. I had to seriously understand that which way worked best for me, and that is not electronic planners. I actually have a physical planner. I love dotted paper, no line paper, dotted paper. Kat can tell you about that. I gave her a dotted notebook because they're awesome.
I will second that for sure. If you haven't embraced the dotted notebook lifestyle, do it.
I do like dotted notebooks. I prefer moleskin dotted notebooks.
It's perfect because you can work on your handwriting and it looks nice. It looks like, hey, there's no lines on this. There's no writing. And then you look closer. Oh, there are dots.
It's freeing. You can do and work on whichever way you want. You can draw on it. You have just perfect control of your paper. But I do manage. I have a schedule. My schedule is structured and flexible all at once. I have things that need to be done and other things that can be flexed out. And yeah, sleep
is a precious commodity, like in a situation like that.
Yeah, but it's not like I am not a sleeper. I am not a bear. I am not the type of person who can sleep 12 hours a day. Even when I'm doing nothing, which is rare, because I get bored. I am hyperactive. I need to be moving, reading, playing video games, finding something to do all the time. So I guess I got used to sleeping 6-7 hours a day, unless, I'm sick or something, which is rare as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a follow up question here, but I want to have Kat start with this first. Both of you have very unique entry paths into breaking in the industry. So, what do you think? Like, say your anti-sex trafficking and your experience with the Navy. How do you think that's going to help you as you continue to move forward with the pursuit of getting into information security?
I feel like it's good because it gives me like more, diversity, like diversity of knowledge, diversity of thought, like, as in someone who's well-rounded in a way. Because, at first, when I first contemplated getting into tech, specifically cybersecurity, I thought, well, I don't have a deep background in like computer science. Like I don't have a computer science bachelor's degree. I didn't do any programming, as a background. So I thought, oh, how is this going to work out? But then when I saw other people's feedback on Reddit from a supportive community of cybersecurity, there are a lot of people with various backgrounds. I saw there are some people who had transitioned into cybersecurity, in their late 30s, or even like early 40s, and from maybe a background in history or a background in writing English, a non-STEM career. And I think that it's great because you get different perspectives on how to look at a problem. I think it's what you need, especially. You can also see this in CTFs because I know Jen, she loves CTFs. She's always posting about CTFs, always trying to get into CTFs. And I only have a few experiences, but it really does help because just having just one side technical based knowledge will only get you so far. But to have different perspectives and different ways to think about an issue, it helps. So I think I think having diverse backgrounds like Jen and I have, that really does help us in the job market.
And awesome. And what about you, Jen? Anything specific from your background that you think is going to help as you push forward?
I know, I definitely agree with her. The diversity of thinking. I have a forensic science background. I never worked in the field, but forensics is forensics. It has been ingrained in me to document, to follow procedure. Those things are very necessary in a field like this where, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I am blue team all the way. I really, really think it's something that I enjoy. It's something
Yes.
I just want to say it. It's something that I really, really enjoy. Something that I like. I think red teaming it's cool. It's awesome. It's fun, but it's not my side.
Blue team is sexy. Just saying.
I enjoy the defense side. I enjoy the threat hunt. I enjoy the logs. I enjoy finding things. I enjoy investigating. I enjoy what I know. I mean, I am not an expert in any of these fields. I am not even close. I'm just learning about them. But the more I learn, the more I like. And something that I have learned from working with Blue Team Security, for instance, I have been working with them. I have been beta testing their new certificate. And the more I work with those things, the certificates and the courses, the more I've noticed how much the procedures, how much the write-ups are important, the documentation, the importance of that. That is something that I'm really good at. That is something that I have been taught very detailed. And it's something that I got from being a forensic chemist. It is something that I've gotten from that diverse background. Another thing that I could tell you from the top of my head, from being a restaurant manager, being a general manager in a high pressure environment, it takes a lot to take my cool out. things could be burning down and I would still be able to think through and find ways around it. Because I just explained to you. A day in a restaurant manager's life is a dumpster fire every single day. You need to figure out what your plan is and understand that plan A, B, C, and D are not going to work. You need to think outside the box and think about that box and 3 other boxes after that, and that's what your plan is going to be. So you need to find ways around everything. So things like that, it's what makes having diverse backgrounds so useful when it comes to this industry.
You're making the right switch if you're looking for a dumpster fire as well.
As Pat also mentioned,
Ours just sometimes involve that magic blue smoke.
Yeah. So a question.
One last thing that I want to say, something
Go
that
ahead.
has helped me a lot when it comes to this transition, because I have been only doing this for a year this month, because last year this month was my orientation, is the fact that, for instance, I like CTFs a lot. I do really good with hands-on and figuring things out, puzzles and all of that stuff. Kat does other things very well. Like, she is really into WAVs.
And her writing, like both of your blogs are fantastic.
Oh, Kat's writing is on point. Oh my God. This female's writing is something. Jesus
It's not that great.
Oh my God. She could write like nobody's business.
Yeah. No, like, Kat, your stuff is amazing.
Her writing is very, very good. It's really, really good. But we play on each other's strength when we study. It's very interesting to see because we really complement each other. And sometimes when you're starting off, that's what you need. You need somebody that understands the things that you don't, so somebody can explain it to you. And that's what we do.
For sure. So, question, and to kind of change gears a little bit, my curiosity. What kind of challenges or, difficult pieces of the industry from what you've seen so far have you encountered kind of, since making the choice to go this way? Dealer's choice, who goes first? Kat, you can go first.
So I found what's really difficult about, transitioning, like not just transitioning from, different careers, just trying to get someone to look your way and say, oh, I want to take a chance on you. Especially those who are changing careers. I feel like a lot of hiring managers prefer those who had an extensive background in, computer science, something related. It just seems that they don't really take you as seriously, at least in my experience so far. It seems to be really to prove yourself.
Almost needs to have that happen to them. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm a big believer in taking a chance on a person, but I'm a big believer in that because I had somebody who took a chance on me. I did the technical side, and when I went into leadership, I had that one person who was like, I think you'd be good at this. I'm going to take a chance on you as a leader. And it paid off for me as well because it opened up my career in a new direction. So I kind of made a vow at that point that I would go out of my way to take a chance on other people because somebody was willing to take a chance on me. And I feel like maybe not a lot of people have had that happen because I definitely get where you're coming from with that struggle.
Yeah, it's been such a struggle because I feel like, I try to prove myself as much as possible, especially, when we go to these opportunities for networking, for instance, such as conferences. My very first conference was OWASP. OWASP DC. I was very unfamiliar. It was my very first tech conference, but I didn't really know what to do because I got it for free. I got in for free. And I was talking to different vendors, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well you're starting out, you're just getting your feet wet, like whatever." They don't really take you seriously. I actually had one guy in this, I forget which vendor it was, but this one guy was like, "Oh well," he was just talking about food and stuff. Like, "Oh yeah, well if you make a good dish, then hey, you can get in." But I'm like, it'd be nice if I can cook food and then get hired immediately, but it's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like we're kind of out here begging. kind of, and it just...
Well, you're not begging, but just a reminder to everybody listening that both of these women are hireable.
And we can definitely help you get in contact with them when you're ready to bring them in.
Correct. Just a friendly reminder. So, Jen, how about you?
Well, for me, besides what Kat has already said, it's reaching out or talking to, and this is without asking for advice, but hearing repeatedly over and over again how it is not that hard to get in. Encountering those people who might have had an easy way in or not, but now that they're in, they're like, you'll be okay. It's not hard. You just gotta, do this or do that, or you're just making it seem harder. It is not easy to get in, but it is doable. It is definitely doable because a lot of people have done it. And sometimes just recognizing the fact that it is not the easiest thing, it is better than to keep hearing it is easy. Don't worry about it. It is easy. Because, we are working really hard at this. We are learning. We are earning. We're trying to earn our spot in whichever company it is. We're trying to, work our way up. But hearing that it is so easy and we're working this hard and it is not happening just yet, sometimes it's just like, okay, so we must be doing something really wrong for it not to happen. So just that is one of the things that I have encountered, besides what Kat has said, that sometimes I have felt like I am not being taken serious.
Sure.
I feel you. Like, I feel like someone thinks I'm stupid. Like, oh, you're doing something wrong. Maybe your resume's terrible, or maybe your cover letter is bad. You're not trying hard enough. And I just feel like I'm not doing enough. That's why I always feel like I'm never doing enough and I need to do more to prove myself. And it's just so tiring and so hard. But, we're still pushing.
So
Now,
when it comes to the things that I do,
well, hold that thought for a second, because I want to spin down a path and answer this however you're comfortable, and tell me if I'm asking this question the wrong way. But do either of you have a belief that some of that difficulty or some of that not being taken serious is because you're females in technology in a primarily male-dominated field?
Before you answer real quick, understudy, you went the direction I was gonna go too, so wormholes.
Right.
I don't know. I really honestly do not know, but I have been in conversations, in groups of conversations or Discord servers where I am the only female and I can hold up my own. I am a noob, but I am not a noob. For the most part, I can now touch upon many topics now, knowing what I'm talking about. Have not yet encountered many situations where me being a female has been or let me see how I rephrase this. I have not yet been like mansplain things. Not many, but I had one situation specific that I was just like, what just happened? Where I was in a server and they were making a lot of jokes. And then I said something. And the comment was, I did not know there were chicks here. And I'm like, oh, I've been here since the beginning of the server, and this has been a tech server forever. And now that you were making other type of jokes, and I commented, is when you realize that there's a female in the server. You don't realize there was females here because it's a tech server, or what's the issue? But I have not encountered anything that blatantly really shows that there has been like a thing against me because I am a female. or I might have and I completely ignore it because I think I'm awesome, and that's besides the fact.
Okay.
But I
Cat?
really, now that I have taken, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I get what you mean. I actually feel the same way as Jen because I haven't experienced anything so deliberate that shows, oh, this is because you're a woman. Um, if anything, it's been very slight things. I've experienced from both men and women, some people who are just rude, where they want to just um, cut me off or talk over me while I'm in the middle of a sentence. They know I'm talking to them, but they deliberately just cut me off. And I'm like, wow, the audacity where you don't respect me as a person or respect what I have to say. Like, I'm actually trying to explain something to you, but you just don't care. And, it just hurts a little bit. I'm like, wow, you really don't care. But I've also had some experiences with some people on Discord, but it's only been just one it was during a week-long CTF, but it started off all right, but there were a couple guys in the group that just didn't really care for me and another person. And I think when they just knew I was the only girl in there, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess they never really wanted to interact with me and stuff. But then once I finally made a point about it in text, about, hey, I really don't know how to do this section or this part, is after a few tries, they're like, okay, well, here, I guess I'll try to show you guys how to do this and stuff. But I've also had.
So I will say that
sorry.
admittedly, nope, you're fine because I just did that thing. I will say admittedly, sometimes we do have to cut people off because that kind of helps with the show. But if we offend you with it, we apologize.
Oh,
it's just
no.
about keeping the flow of the podcast.
Oh, no, this is different. This is not,
but
I'm not offended by this at all.
all right. I want to spend a good amount of time because I think there's another thing that's beneficial because we've decided, listeners, to change up our detection tonight in an interesting way, I think, because we think this will be very useful because a lot of people who listen are just starting to get into the industry or trying to break into the industry and find a job. So what we decided to do is take our two guests who are in that exact same boat and give them the opportunity to ask us questions, whatever questions they're curious about how they can get a job or how they can break into the industry, so on and so forth. And we will do the best of our ability to answer them. However, with the full understanding that we're just two jackasses who may or may not know nothing. So, as long as both of you understand that going into the question asking process, you may ask whatever questions you would like of us.
All right. So, I guess I'll go first. What are some basic skills that you expect for you understudy your analyst to have when they come work for you?
Ooh, good question. Skill number one and interest number one for me is always going to be curiosity. Skill number two is going to be the ability to kind of think through a problem in a logical way. So you don't necessarily have to know the answer. And I don't interview question answer. I interview thought process. So it's how a person thinks. And then additionally, and lastly, and probably one of the most valuable things that a person can have is how to ask the right questions. Because anybody can ask a question. It really becomes how to ask the right questions that go a lot farther. And depending on the level, depends on what I want technically. But as I hire analysts, I look for people with that investigative mindset and stuff. But that all depends on the level, right?
Yeah, and those questions, when I was doing interviews for the socks that I was helping build, the specificity of the question was an indicator of someone who was curious enough to want to learn more. The thing that I would throw on top of that too is a skill that I always checked for because of the potential that it had immediately and in the future was writing ability. Because as you get in, there's a lot of writing reports that gets involved, after action stuff, and people that had that skill that ended up becoming a quick stand apart from everyone else that was applying.
Next question. Kat or Katrina, would you like to take one?
Oh, yes. So I remember hearing from you earlier that you have an amazing intern. So I was wondering, what qualities does your intern have, and what made you want to hire them?
Well, if she listens to this, then it's going to be weird. So
I'll send her the link.
Right. Honestly, a lot of the things that I kind of mentioned prior, but there's one additional thing. Where we work, when I give somebody experience in an internship, I don't believe in like, go get coffee, do some project that I don't care about. I'm very much believe in giving somebody real work experience. However, on top of that, we also have access to a bunch of free training and a bunch of additional opportunities and a bunch of things that you can do that aren't necessarily in terms of the job that I expect out of you, but will help you with your career. So when I look for an intern, I look for somebody because they're there for a limited amount of time. And this is, by the way, completely different than how I look for an analyst. And that's very important because an intern I have for 12 weeks, an analyst I have for years. So, it's a more condensed process. I look for somebody who's going to say, I'm going to get the most out of this opportunity. I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to do the work during the day, and then I'm going to take advantage of the free training later. And I'm going to make sure that everything I can personally get out of this, I'm going to get. And I'm going to use this experience to springboard my career. I also look for somebody who's very interested in like the defensive side and like they think that that's what they want to do and they want to explore it. So that passion, I hate to use the word passion because I think employers use the word passion and interest to abuse the crap out of their people.
Drive. I'd say
drive you can use drive the same way though. You can use it to abuse your people. And I do believe in a healthy work-life balance. I think it's really important. But as far as qualities, she's very curious. She's very interested, and she 100% absolutely wants to get the most that she possibly can out of the 12 weeks. I often look for interns not based on who I think the most technical candidate is, but based on who will get the most out of the experience, which is a little bit different than how most people look for interns. But I'm doing it more because I believe in building a human being and building somebody who's going to be efficient in the industry than just to have somebody else on payroll for a while doing busy work. Did that answer your question?
Oh, it did. Actually, I like that. It's actually great because there's a lot of employers who would rather underpay those who overwork, like robots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where passion and living and breathing this stuff, and those can all be really, really dangerous terms because an employer can use someone's passion to do exactly that. They can pay them less. They can give them less opportunities. They can overwork them. They can do all that stuff. And while I want somebody who's passionate about what they do, I also want them to go home and do something else. Like, I want them to end at the end of the day. And I have people who don't, and that's their prerogative, right? I'm not going to force somebody to go home, although I have threatened to turn off some of my employees' account access after their shift to make them go home. But, it's very important when you interview. And this is a piece of unsolicited advice to people who are looking for jobs. You're going to deal with some crap in your first job, probably. Like, it's just part of the game. But when you interview, like, ask about, like, what does eat, live, and breathe, or what does be super passionate about this stuff mean? Because you can be super passionate, but still have a life. And they might be looking to exploit somebody who cares more about the work than, like, the paycheck or their personal life. And that's dangerous. And I got really, really burnt out early on because of stuff like that. Yeah. So I try really hard to not do that.
And I will say that I've seen a number of job descriptions that use that terminology of passion, driven for the industry, to lead to an unhealthy, like typically it's been the majority that is an unhealthy work-life balance.
I mean, I probably used some of the terminology too, but I don't manage that way. Yeah. But I mean, you got to be, it's just all about kind of being careful and asking the questions that help you understand what that means to that person, right? All right. Additional, keep them coming. We got probably about 10 minutes left where y'all can ask whatever you want of us, and we will try to give our best, I guess in this case, solicited advice.
If you could recommend me a tool to learn that I could obtain for free, open source, right now for me to play with and learn from and do all sorts of things, probably break it too, because that's what I do nowadays, what would it be?
You want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, go ahead. Go first.
I'm going to say Greylog. because it gives you chances to deal with analytics, gives you chances to dig in technical, but also when you break it, you learn invaluable skills on how the tool works that then becomes useful across the entire career. Because tools will break pretty much on a weekly basis, and that has a direct impact to everyone's job.
So this is a hard one for me because I actually don't want to recommend an individual tool or a tool at all for that matter. Because one of the problems that I have when I hire is people who are bound to the tool, and they learn the tool, but they don't actually learn what goes behind it or how things work or the thought process or any of the things that a really good analyst needs. So to be very broad and probably not helpful, instead of focusing on a tool, focus on a skill. So, and we can map a tool to a skill. So if you wanted to learn malware analysis, for instance, I would recommend things like Remnux and like virtual machines and like Wireshark and RegShot, and this is all free stuff, by the way. RegShot and different tools that you can use to learn that skill. If you want to learn like network monitoring and like packet inspection, I would recommend like Wireshark, NetWitness, Moloch, like things that will help you learn the skill. But the skill is far, far more important than the tool. So with that said, Jen, is there a skill in mind? And then maybe I can give you a better tool.
What I noticed is when you were talking just now, you mentioned Wireshark multiple times. I want to tell you that Wireshark it's a tool that I've hold dear to my heart because I honestly had a great dislike for a while. Not because of the tool itself, but because of a specific professor that made me had a great dislike for the tool. But working with...
So here's what gets really interesting about Wireshark, though. In an enterprise environment, it's not going to be super useful for you because it's all about pulling packets in a very localized way. So I use it as a tool to get a packet capture or to analyze network traffic on a single host in a very small amount of time.
Or you're dealing with a PCAP that's already been gathered from something else. So
in
Wireshark
an enterprise,
is one of those,
it's not going to do you a lot of good because they're not going to use it because you can't run Wireshark across your whole network.
Yeah, and you end up like Wireshark is a great tool for doing that, but you end up using it like maybe 2 or 3 times a month.
Yeah, I use it when I do malware analysis now, and that's about it.
Yeah. Kat, you were laughing like you had familiarity with Jen's statement about a specific professor.
Oh, yeah. I just remembered. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
All right. What about you, Kat? What you got?
Well, hold on. I still want to know, Jen, do you have a skill that you want to learn? Because I want to actually appropriately answer your question.
The problem with answering your question is I wouldn't be able to give you a truthful answer because I want to learn multiple skills right now.
I'll take that. That's fair.
Now, I don't want to learn every skill, but there's multiple skills that I'm interested in learning. So I could reach out to you later and tell you top 3 skills, and you can tell me that. But right now, can I give you the top skill?
That's fine. I'll take that.
Understood. You could just replug OpenSock.
I could just replug that OpenSock is going on and does a whole lot of this stuff, and it's a really, really good CTF, which you love CTFs.
Oh, I am already in there. Head first. I just want you to know that I am so in there. I watched the whole thing the whole day. I have all the stuff. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, those folks are incredible trainers.
I agree. The first time I did the OpenSock CTF was from the episode where you let me sign up early. Yep. And that was my first introduction to some of these tools, and I was like Disneyland for me. It was like a candy store. Oh my God. It was so
nice. So, Katrina, question.
I actually have one that's more on like the networking side. So would you say that for those trying to break into infosec that they should create a social media such as Twitter, for instance, like the infosec community, because I know quite a few people who are interested in getting into infosec and they've been doing a lot of work, but they don't want to go on social media to network. So what would you say?
You want? I can start with this one.
Yeah, I have a few things I'll say, but I'll let you go first.
Yes. And it depends in some sense. Like, I had no social media presence for the first several years of my career. However, upping my social media presence, building a network, getting to know and meet people, and learning who different people are and interacting with them has only been beneficial for me overall in a big way. Because as much as anybody doesn't want to admit it, who you know will always get you farther than what you know in pretty much every industry in the entire world. Kind of I think like a oft whispered fact, right? Or maybe not even whispered anymore. But that presence helps you build a repertoire. It helps you meet people. It helps you have a place to showcase your work where potential employees can find you. And to be completely honest, I actually source most of my candidates from like Twitter. So when I'm hiring, I tweet and I source most of my candidates from Twitter.
I'd
Go ahead,
like
Exile.
to say that that's exactly how I met him. He had a post
That's
about
true.
his internship, and I reached out to him about it, and we talked about it. He reviewed my resume actually briefly, and that's how we went about it.
Yeah,
So,
the paranoids.
I'm going to start with answering your question with I actually had little to no social media presence before I got my first job in the industry. But that was someone taking a chance on me because of some background that I had. Now, this podcast would not be a podcast if that networking didn't happen, even though that was specifically in person at DerbyCon. So the slight spin that I want to put on social media is yes, but in the form of building a community. So just like if we look at LinkedIn, that's kind of just up there, can just be up there, or you can build a community, but the whole who you know, like sourcing from Twitter or Discord communities, Slack communities, whatever, someplace that you're interacting and people are getting to know you. Then when something comes across their sphere of influence, you're available like in their mind because of that community building and that interaction.
Any interaction beforehand means that your resume moves to the top of the pile.
Yep.
Because if I get 100 applicants, the first people that I'm going to pull are the people that I've interacted with in some way because they're a known quantity.
There's that recognition on a name, a face, something like that immediately moves it to the front of the brain.
Yep. And I mean, I source not only on Twitter, but like in DeadPixelSec and the other communities that I'm part of. Like, I totally source in communities, partially because honestly, the people who take the time to be in those communities end up being a particularly like interesting / devoted type person.
In fact, Black Hills Information Security only hires based off of current employees, sphere of influence, and people they recommend.
I believe that.
Oh, that's good to know.
Additional questions? We got a little bit more time.
Yeah, I just thought that was helpful because I've met quite a few people in the program who are interested in cybersecurity that have been wondering about networking, but they are hesitant on making more social media presence on that.
Sure, I get that.
Yeah, and that's part of why I was saying the community focus. Like I could see someone not being as like focused on LinkedIn or as heavy on Twitter, but being active in like 1, 2, 3 communities in Discord, Slack, forums, or something like that, and getting the same sort of effect without engaging social media platforms.
So I have like another small question, but so it's for you guys. So have you guys, since you have a lot of years of experience, have you dealt with a lot of disrespect, in infosec?
I run socks for a living, so all the time.
And how do you deal with them? Like, when you were starting out, and how to stay professional.
Remember why you're there. That's my big one. So my job now is not to, worry about whether or not somebody likes me or doesn't like me. Like, obviously everybody wants to be liked, but like I have a job to protect a company and work with other people to help protect a company. So if somebody disrespects me, it is what it is. Like, I'm still going to do my job. I'm still going to work with that person, and I'm still going to do the things that I have to do because that's my job. I admit that earlier in my career, I did not take it quite as well than I have now. I feel like I've grown a lot as a human being, and my anger issues are not as bad as they used to be. But it ultimately comes down to both remembering why you're there, remembering your value, which one of the things I tell every employee, every intern, everybody that I talk to is that you have unique value. You were hired for a reason, you were brought in for a reason, and you are valuable because you have a unique perspective that nobody else shares. Sometimes we need to be reminded of that. And it's helpful when we are. I hope that's helpful.
For me, I hopefully this statement's helpful. For me, it comes down to I have issues with control, meaning I want to be in control. So then I end up reminding myself, why am I letting the situation or the person have so much control over me that it's affecting how I'm thinking or reacting?
That helpful?
Jen? Yeah.
Jen, last question.
Or Kat, or both.
Cat or both. Okay. Awesome. When it comes to growth, general, I mean, not only in the job, but like personal growth, and knowledge. I know, understudy that you have spoken before in another podcast that you've done about taking advantage of the tools that you have and the things that you have and the people you work with. When you work in a SOC, for instance, that you have all these enterprise tools at your disposal that you can use adequately, not for anything illegal. When on your downtime and when you have a chance that you're able to play with, per se, and all of that. But you also mentioned about having that work-life balance. What does that look like for you to still work on your growth and development and still keeping that work-life balance to you?
So it ultimately depends in some senses where you are at in your career and where you are working and whether or not the option exists to find somewhere better. I will admit that I'm a workaholic even now, but I'm better at it today than I used to be. When I started my career with the opinion of what I'm going to do is I'm going to work. That is going to be my focus. I am going to learn things. And I spent a lot of extra time doing that. That has tapered off as I have gotten older and been doing this longer. But I also say it's not for everyone, nor should it be an expectation. However, if you think of like your personal time in a realistic way, so like you have me time, right? You watch TV, you can lay around, you can take a nap, you can do all different kinds of stuff. In any situation, you probably have enough time that you can dedicate an hour to your craft. So if you're not getting your craft at your job, you can dedicate an hour to your craft externally when you're done with your job to better your craft. And that's actually not a bad use of your time. And you're not like overworking for the company, right? Like doing that's not helping the company. You're doing it solely to help you. You're taking advantage of tools that are in front of you to help you. And even an hour a day, like you can gain a lot from that. I hope that's helpful.
That is. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just going to follow up on that. So you started, or you mentioned it, Jen, with controlling your schedule because of work and school and stuff like that. That's a big thing. And forcing yourself to take breaks. I've been through actual burnout, and that sucked a lot. And having had that experience, I had to force myself to take breaks, which is why I encourage people to take up a hobby that's not interested or not related to the industry, because then when you're engaging in that hobby, that's forcing you to take a step out.
Exactly. Who asked the first question? Jen, did you ask the first question?
I believe so, but I just want to give you a comment when it comes to that.
Yeah.
When you are now working in the industry, it's a lot harder to take a break because for me, for instance, everything I'm doing outside of my regular job is what I actually want to do. Do you understand what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I work my full-time job. Awesome. But when I get out of my job is where I actually start doing what I want to do, what I'm excited about doing. Coming home and breaking things and fixing things and finding things and learning things and driving people crazy asking questions. That's when I start doing that. And 1 hour feels like 5 minutes, and 5 hours later is like 2 a.m. and I gotta wake up at 6, and it's like, oops. So managing the schedule sometimes gets difficult, but it's doable.
Oh, no doubt in my mind
It's just a
whatsoever.
thing.
It just feels so easy to neglect relationships, like, family or friend relationships when, we're so focused on trying to learn new things. It's like someone told me this analogy. When you're trying to break in, it's like from a different career, it's like pouring a water hose and trying to absorb all of it.
I mean, I know I feel neglected, Kat.
It's in general incredibly easy to ignore relationships.
I know. Kat
In
hasn't
this
talked
field.
to me in like 3 weeks.
I'm talking to you now. Hey, what's up?
Walking away.
So, in full interest, Katrina, last question.
What is something like, what is a quality you absolutely dislike in just an employee in general, like for employees in your company?
Do you want to start with this one, Exiled? I got a good one.
Yeah. So if I had to pick one, I am going to go with a trait that annoys me just about humanity in general, and that is an overinflated sense of entitlement. That people are owed things because of one thing or another, rather than just focusing on getting the job done or helping the people around you.
Mine is actually very similar to that. I could pretty much use exactly the same thing, but we did a whole episode on this a long time ago. The rock star mentality and all the things that come into it. You can have a little bit of ego. You can be confident, like you can be sure of yourself. Those things are fine. But the rock star mentality, that concept that you are more important than the team, and that feeling that you are more valuable than the people around you. Because that leads you to not work well with others, and that leads you to not actually be valuable to me at all. Like, teams exist for a reason, and in this field, one person can't do everything. It's just not possible. Even at small companies where they only have one person, that one person will probably tell you that one person can't do everything. So that mentality that you are more important than those around you is one of the things that just I do not stand for. Cool.
That was good.
Well, yes. So
thank you so much both for coming on. Like, it
So, hold on.
exceeded any sort of expectancy.
we got one other thing, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you an interview question, both of you, and we'll start with Katrina and with Jen. In as few words as possible, what sets you apart from anybody else, and why should someone hire you?
Well, first of all, I have a very diverse background, as you've heard earlier. I have a very diverse thought process on how to look at different problems. I'm very patient, and I'm endlessly curious. I'm always wanting to learn more. So I think these are 3 valuable traits that
Okay.
I can use in the company.
Jen?
Sorry for the delay. My headphones got unplugged.
No problem. No problem.
I am extremely ready to start learning. I am well organized, patient as well. Sorry, Kat. I was actually going to use that word. I am ready. I'm organized. I am patient.
This is a particularly difficult question, although we may have just lost Jen. Possibly. So,
Sorry.
Nope, she's
Sorry.
back.
she's back. Go ahead.
It was my headphones.
Finish your thought. Nope. Might have lost the headphones again. So,
Yep.
No, wait. I'm back.
Hey, there we go. All right.
Yay.
Finish your thought.
What's up?
All right. I am patient and well organized. I am very ready in order to be able to start learning. I am eager. This is something that I enjoy doing, which is why I do it every day. Yeah, I'm confident that I could be an asset.
Awesome. Anything
So
that
again-
either of you
I was just going to say, so again, hiring managers.
they're looking for jobs.
Yeah.
Anything that either of you just want to say to the listeners as a whole?
Absolutely. It is doable. Share the knowledge. We are here to help with whatever we can. We are learning, just like a lot of you are. Feel free to reach out at any point in time. My blog is available. And yeah,
We will link both of your blogs as well in the description. Kat, anything you want to say to the listeners?
Yeah, I think like if you're considering transitioning from a career into cybersecurity or any other field, it is doable. Just like Jen said, just takes your drive. I know you don't like that word drive, but just pushing yourself, being curious, just try it, and you'll see that you're actually going way further than you ever thought you could.
I only dislike that word when employers use it, not when people use it.
But also that I can make a bomb pad grapao. If you don't know what that is, that's a basil fried rice.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm starting to
Excellent.
drool now.
Well, on that, I want to thank both of you very much for coming on and chatting with us. To everybody listening, I do hope that it has been beneficial to you, and I hope that you have some takeaways. Exile, would you like to thank everybody before? Well, wait, no, you take it out, so go ahead.
Yeah, and I kind of already jumped the gun on the thinking, so I'm not going to repeat myself. We can be redundant in the Department of Redundancy, so hope everyone enjoyed. Stay safe, go forth, and find badness.